So from a Fosway perspective, the way we look at learning systems and the learning ecosystem is probably a little bit different to other organizations. We've been tracking the learning technology market for well over 20 years. And, it's never just been around an LMS and content, for example. I mean, that's, or a training admin system, etc. It's always very kind of diverse and complicated. So the term ecosystem, first of all, is quite important. From a learning management perspective, obviously the LMS, the learning management system, has been the sort of dominant part of that story for a long time. But in reality, learning management systems have themselves been an evolving entity, right? So often many of them started managing just the learning side, then they started to manage instructor-led activities as well, instead of training admin tools as part of the HR system. And then obviously now in the modern world, they've become much more diverse, supporting lots of different learning channels. So we tend to talk actually around learning system suites. In other words, a suite of tools managing modern learning activity in a general sense. But clearly within that, there are some areas of disruption and deep specialism. So the way we look at training management, if I want to use that term, is as potentially a specialist area within it. So it's a general capability that a lot of the learning system suites have, but generally what you find is that it's not an area of deep competence. And that becomes really important when you're talking to big organizations where, as I said, they're spending lots of money on this activity. It's very complicated. They're probably managing it in a decentralized or federated way anyway. So having tools, specific specialist almost tools for managing it within that system makes a lot of sense. It also enables them, frankly, to focus on multiple different specialist agenda or disruption agendas at once, as well, because they can focus on like training and optimization on one level and maybe things like learning experience in a separate way, right? So rather than trying to solve it all through one problem. So we see it all as being part of the learning technology ecosystem as a whole. We see this as something, particularly for larger organizations, as being really, really relevant in terms of the training management, maybe specialism, how it fits into their ecosystem, how it fits into their broader ecosystem, whether that's through maybe best of breed or specialist components, or whether it's with what historically might have been considered to be one of the LMS market leaders, if you like, who are now the kind of leading suites really in the market. So it's a key component of that. It needs to integrate into that ecosystem, clearly needs to share data around learners and learner activity, and even potentially around things like obviously classes and sessions and things like this as well. So it's a kind of tightly integrated part of it, bringing a specialist set of additional tools to the table that enable you to really manage this and optimize it in scale. The other piece to this, which is also very relevant, is in certain countries, obviously there are also regulatory structures in place which really focus around things like training, reporting, management, and budgeting process. So there's also financial structures around it. So in those environments, it also takes maybe a disproportionate importance as well, because often it's being used to actually provide the regulatory reports and structures and to manage things like training spend in a way that maybe is supplementary to what an organization would normally do.